Hello everybody and welcome back to what I thought would be quite a silly Gran Turismo race. The Daily Race A, which this week did affect driver ratings, was actually a load of fun and it turned out a lot better than I thought it would. We're here in Nordland, one of my favourite tracks on Gran Turismo. It's a real roller coaster, especially in these karts. And after an alright qualifying, we end up starting P6, aiming for the top 3 in this race. However, these karts are very squirrely at points. They're quite easy to spin if you lose your head, but we're hoping not to do that in this race. It is 6 laps. The timings are about a minute and 10, maybe a little bit more on actual race pace, but we're hoping to pick up a couple positions and capitalize on the standing start, which most races on Gran Turismo don't have. This was a real breath of fresh air. I did this race quite a few times actually this week and I really enjoyed it. So let's get into this. As I said, starting P6, and I did spin out a couple of times in qualifying, so I'm a little bit nervous on this start, but this turned out to be a load of fun. I really recommend trying it out next time it's in rotation with the kart. Again, grid start, so waiting for the lights to go out, and out they go. Really poor start from all the cars in front, so we're directly up to 5th. Now this start was absolute chaos, so let's lock in and pay attention. On the inside here, putting on my radar so I can see left and right as there are no mirrors on these karts. Paul gets an awful run through the 3rd corner as we come through to kind of the long run where we're just foot flat, leaving him loads of space on the left as we take to the right side of the track for the overtake. Bit of contact there, hit into the barriers, but luckily didn't spin. Can't say the same for poor Paul, as unfortunately he's out of the picture. So we're now up to 4th. Unfortunately these two come running through. I'm now in 6th, and the person in 3rd crashes into 4th place, which sends me into the barriers. I end up facing the wrong way, but managed to spin it around directly into 1st again, and we're back on the power. Now we're in 8th position. It's going to be a tough one to get these positions up ahead back, but who knows, mistakes can be made by other drivers, and I'm really checking my left and right there to see how close the guy is behind. Now down to 2nd here as the person in 7th goes spinning around there and I take the position. On the power in 2nd, I found it best to keep it in 2nd all the way through those corners, then up to 3rd. Back down to 2nd here, I take a very kind of greedy line on the apex, but it seemed to work out. Then back on the power here again, bit wide, we straighten up, and unfortunately 6th place. Looking backwards now, directly into the grass. A lot of mistakes being made. Applying pressure does tend to make people make mistakes like that, but I didn't really feel like I was too close, but unfortunately he just kind of lost it there. We're now chasing down 5th place though. I'm hungry for more positions. These karts are just so much fun. It's so easy to race in them in terms of giving space and fighting because they're so small, and you get that sense of speed because you're so low to the ground in virtual reality. It really is the way to play. Now we pass down here, down this long, well, I'd say straight, it's not really a straight long right-hander, as the pit lane's to our right. We want to avoid that. That's subtle foreshadowing for later. This long left-hander is a bit tough for me. You got to shift down to 4th ideally, I think, in terms of revs, but I keep shifting first and sliding the back end where I should be braking, then shifting later. I do rectify this a little bit in the later races, but yeah, mistake from me there that I consistently make. Down to 2nd. Easy on the power, but get a decent drive to try and get to 5th position. Absolutely flying up here. It feels really quick, even though obviously it's not too fast. Tilting it in, down to 2nd, and he's into the grass, and he's spun. I actually feel for him there. I've done that line a couple of times in qualifying and end up facing the same way. It's really easy to do that. If you mess up your entry, you're basically on a collision course with the grass or the barrier, and you've either got to slam the brakes on, which will ruin your momentum, or you just stick with it and let off the power and hope you can steer the car in the right direction. But most of the time, that doesn't end up really happening. Okay, flying down here, foot flat all the way through here until we pass the long right-hander, but the second one, not this one. And we shift up to 6th, going on to the non-marbled side of the track there. Okay, taking the long right-hander line, and we brake round about now. Down to 4th, sliding the rears there a little bit. Just struggle with that, and then you got to get the wheels straightened up to put the power down. Struggle with that as well. Checking behind, I really like this, to be honest. Like, there's no grids that show up in certain Gran Turismo cars. You know, you get that weird kind of mesh and hex when you're trying to move your head around, but there's none of that with the karts because there's no geometry to put your head into, so you can really turn around and check where other people are. Really immersive feature that I enjoy, and it adds a bit more realism to the racing, like real karting. That's how you check your mirrors, just by looking behind you. Right, we're on the tail of 4th. We're absolutely powering through here. We're there, not the fastest, and making a couple mistakes. You can see them being a bit squirrely on the throttle there. Checking behind, we're all good. This, of course, is the reverse of Nordland, so That is the jump you'd usually take the other way, but we're taking it backwards so you don't get too much air. Right, down to third. Can take that line a bit more optimally than I did there, but we're alright. Got a decent run up to fourth. Just flat all the way through here, and we just got to hope he makes a mistake in one of the lines. But honestly, this race was so much fun. Like, flying through these corners especially, it's just a feeling like no other in VR, especially with the haptic suit on. I put it on for a couple of the later races, and you feel the rumble of the wind and the engine of the kart. It's a load of fun. I'd really recommend trying it if you have one. Okay. Following behind here, not made too much time up to be honest, but we're not under pressure from behind, so it's okay. I'm free to push, and I've got no kind of impending danger behind me. Good couple of corners here. I made up a lot of time in these corners. This is where I kind of was a lot faster than the guy in fourth. So in second, up to third, up to fourth then, and then back down to second. Again, that really tight kind of greedy line, but I managed to get the car rotated. As the person in third goes absolutely careening off the track there behind us. So I'm now up to fourth with the guy in front up to third. Now I need this position to get on the podium, so that is the goal. Right. Down to third, not fourth, so stick it in third, shift down twice, power on now, really good run there. Now this is going to end up with us side by side, so let's see what I do here. Am I going to try and push it side by side, or do I let them just have it? Am I going to live dangerously? Nope. Okay, going to let them have it for now. Having a little look there, but we're going to have to outbrake them in this corner if I'm going to actually get what I want in terms of positioning here. Sliding the rears out there, a bit squirrely, and I assume they're going to have a better run than me. Yeah, a lot more solid on the exit of that corner there, but we're getting into the sector that I'm a bit faster at than them, so let's see if I can replicate those times from the last couple of laps. Not long to go, just 2 laps, so I don't have long to make my move. Right, into second here. See, we are much, much faster, carrying more momentum, but I have to let off a little bit, otherwise we're going to make contact. Flying down here, I could make my move down the inside, and we try and make it stick, and we pull it off. Lovely stuff. Tilting in here, a little bit on the power, and flat now. Great stuff. Move is complete. We've sent it down the inside. He left it wide open, and we're now up to third. Now, just got to stick it for this last lap. Let's push. Right, tilting in here, down to third. Not a great line at all, that, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. Usually a bit wider there to get some more momentum is better, but he seems to drop back a little bit, and it seems like he got an even worse launch than I did, so we're absolutely flying down here compared to the guy in fourth, and I'm hoping I can hang on to this position. All I got to do is keep my composure and not mess up, because it is very easy to oversteer into a wall in these little shifter karts. Right, on the left here. Alright drive. What I needed to do and what I do in some of the later races is straighten up a lot sooner, basically. I don't need to have so much points of rotation during that part of the corner, which doesn't really allow me to put the power down because I'll spin out. So I did adjust that for later on, but at the moment it was still a bit of a weak point in that long left-hander. Decent there, powering through, but these two are right behind me, as you can see on the radar. But they are fighting. There's 2 of them, but if I make a mistake, that's 2 positions gone, and I'll be back to 5th at least. So I've got to just keep my composure, hope they fight each other, and flat now. We are on the home straight. All I've got to do is keep it together, as those 2 still squabbling back there, which did help me out. And across the line. Lovely stuff. Taking over P3 for our first shifter kart race on GT7 Online. Okay, 2 more races to go in this video, and I'm aiming for a win, or maybe even 2. But I'm going to need a much better time in quali. To help me with that, let's head back into qualifying. So, I'm trying to beat my 1:11.2 time, or 1:11.19 or something, I believe it is. This run actually felt pretty good, and I managed to get a 1:11.7, I think it was. Or sorry, a 1:11.17. So about 200th of a second shaved off there. But this run, for some reason, I don't know what it was about it. I keep trying to rewatch it to see where the time was saved. But I'm just absolutely flying. So I'm heading down here, and I believe I've got maybe a 1:10.8 in the bag, but I've just shaved off 0.6 there. So if I can carry that and make up the same speed as the rest of the laps in these sectors, which unfortunately I have a snap there, so already off to a bad start. But I've got maybe like a 1:10.5 in there in terms of pace, which is much faster than I thought. So fortunately, I think we're down to about 3 seconds faster, 3 tenths faster here, coming into the series of short corners. And I think I got a bit excited about that 6 tenths off. And unfortunately, the lap just kind of like unravels. but it is a bit of a confidence booster to me that the time is there. I just need to find it. So we're coming through here, last couple of corners, final corner here, and unfortunately I lose the car. But I think I would have been on for maybe a 110.9 or 8 there, to be honest. And then if I'd kept the same speed and kind of done good sectors past the first one, I would have been on for like a 110.5 or 110.6, which is kind of, it's kind of mind-blowing. So let's head on to the race and see where we've qualified from there. Unfortunately, yeah, we're only the 111.17, but if I did get that like 110.6, it would have put me on pole above Max Schumacher, who's on pole there. Bit of an amalgamation of two very famous Formula 1 drivers, of course. But we're going to see if we can beat him fair and square, head to head. But I'm starting 4th, so this is going to be a little bit tough. I'm going to have to get 2 moves done before I can even get to the front runner of the race. Seeing a lot of people come into this race with no time set as well. I kind of understand that for the other race in this weekly rotation, which is the Nordschleife, because the lap is long, but here it takes like a minute, so I don't really understand. But some people just jump in with no time at all. Anyway, we're off here. Lights go out, and everyone has a pretty decent start, to be honest. We're following the 2 Spanish drivers as they're kind of looking for a move on each other. Flat now for the first part of the lap. Again, I absolutely love this part of the track. I really do. This circuit is just so much fun, especially in rally cars as well, but I've never done it in karts before. There was one event where they did it in quite old Formula cars, like the 1950s Formula cars, the open wheels, and that was a load of fun, but they were a lot more oversteery and snappy than the karts were, so this is a bit more fun because, again, you have more room to race because the karts are so small, but these two are really fighting it out here, and unfortunately, one taps the barrier there, and if he didn't ghost, which one of them didn't in the first race we saw on this video, if it happened the same as it did back then, I would have been out of this race pretty much, probably at the back, spinning out that early. Anyway, a little bit of a late shift down there, but we're down into 2nd, and full lock on the left-hander there, and easy on the throttle, flat now, up to 4th, send it down the inside a little bit into 2nd, try and get the move done, but he's held that line pretty well, unfortunately in the grass for him though, so we managed to get past. Flat now, he's pretty close behind there though, still looking to keep in the toe and maybe get that position back, but we're up to 2nd, which is exactly where I wanted to be. The thing is, quite a short race, only like 5 or 6 minutes, so you need to make every move count and make them count fast. So flat here. In this race I also kind of sorted my oversteer issue, or my rear locking issue on the long left-hander, which we'll see in a second. But Max Schumacher up ahead is being pretty quick, so I'm going to have to kind of get my pedal down to get anywhere near him. Alright, heading up to the long left hand here. So I brake, and a little bit of rear locking there, but I managed to get a much tighter line. And my problem was that, it's a pretty simple problem. I was just braking too much. I wasn't really letting off enough in the trail braking. I wasn't letting the tyres stop locking up. I basically was forcing that because I was trying to turn and slow down at the same time. I really didn't need to. All that braking at the start was enough. I didn't have to keep on braking through the corner, and I figured that out there, and it gave me a bit of time, which is great to see. But we still have to make up a lot of time in these small corners, and I found myself doing pretty well through these, to be honest. I managed to gain quite a lot on a lot of drivers during these last couple of corners because they seem to be a bit slower. I think their approach after watching their onboards were a bit more like, come to the corner, brake, fully let off, and then pick up the throttle after you get through the corner, whereas I was powering through the corner, about like half throttle all the way through. So I don't know, maybe that helped me a bit. Skipping forward to lap, is that 3 or 4? I think it's 3. He makes a mistake here, has a massive snap, and I probably should have capitalized on that and tried to go for the gap that opened on the left, but he managed to keep it on track. But we are basically following him along now, very, very closely. This could be an opportunity to make a move. We can get a good run through this first double left, then that'll set me up nicely to try and take him on the long left-hander that up comes during about the halfway point of the lap. So, alright run there in that double left-hander. Not really like a massive amount of speed, but I don't want to be sending it side by side through here. That's how I ended up in the pit lane last race, so don't want to kind of remake that. Almost into the side of the grass there, but we've got a good run here again, pulling up alongside. We're going to try and send it down the inside. Lock the rears a little bit, and a bit of a touch there, a little bit of contact. Didn't really disrupt either of us, and didn't like have too big of an impact on him either. Just a bit of, bumping his racing. But unfortunately, as I brake here, he completely loses his head a bit in terms of the braking line and sends it into the barriers. But manages to recover it pretty well, to be honest. So fair dues to him. I don't think he went to take me out there. Watching the onboard and the offboard playback of that, I don't think he really meant to try and hit me, which luckily he didn't. I think he just genuinely just misjudged his braking like I did in the last race with the race leader and accidentally hit him. So like it's an easy mistake to make for like a C rank driver like me. And yeah, I don't really think he was trying to do anything malicious there. I think it was just a genuine misjudged braking point. So no harm, no foul. I've now got to bring it home in first. And here we are on the final lap of the race. Now, during the flat section, this is where it almost unraveled for me. One wheel in the grass there. And as you can see, there are already tyre marks there, so somebody has done that before. And it's not like awful, like you can still retain your speed as I do here. And as you'll notice, the radar's gone on the right. I've got the weather radar up because I don't want to see if he's close or not. I just want to focus on the lap, so I got rid of like the close radar. But yeah, as long as you keep it, like get it back on track as soon as possible and don't oversteer or don't understeer, as long as you keep it in that middle bit, you can avoid the wall on the right. So it wasn't too bad, but if I had panicked there, I would have probably sent into the wall and lost this first position. But yeah, full focus on these corners, not worrying about in behind, not even getting the radar up, not even thinking about it, because if I think about it, I'm going to make a mistake. So there we go. Last corner and onto the main straight, and we are pretty much home free, which is a big relief. I thought I'd maybe lose it there in the couple of corners, but managed to lock in and get the job done, and we finish in P1. But as I said earlier, there's one more race to go, and I actually had quite a big step up here. So I wanted to get onto the Nürburgring race, which was the other daily race C, I think it was, for the week, and I just wanted one more kart race, and I thought I had a lot of time in qualifying, as we mentioned earlier, so I jumped back into qualifying to see if I could pick up the remaining pieces and maybe get, for example, a 10.5. However, this lap proved to be a lot better than that, and I'm actually really happy with the time that I got. So we're coming down the main straight here after a decent run around the track, and it feels pretty good, pretty cohesive, no spins, and as we come across the line we see a 10.3, which is much better than I thought I was going to get. I was really happy with that, and now that I'm in higher lobbies after winning, I'm hoping this will put me on near the front row, and luckily that's exactly where we land in P3. So lining up in front of a couple of people who are a lot faster. So if I, say, qualified the same as I did before, I would be in like 10th for this race. But luckily with the extra time, for the 10.3, we start in P3. So 2 places to make up if we want this win. But these 2 drivers ahead seem to have pretty fast qualifying times. However, they're already fighting, and one of them is about to make the move. Down the inside, bit of bumping, but he's trying to make that happen. And I'll see if I can capitalize if either of them makes a mistake. But we'll just have to wait and see. Right, running through here in 6th. This one turned out to be quite an interesting and intense battle, but not with either car ahead, because one of them has just spun out and crashed into the wall. Instead, it's the car behind I'm going to have to be fighting with, even though I'm trying to keep my eyes forward. They seem to be pretty fast. However, some controller players, especially in these lobbies, seem to be prone to mistakes, because they can't really manage the throttle quite as well as a real pedal, so hopefully we can keep it together. However, they have a really good run and are right on my tail looking for that overtake, and I'm expecting them to send it down the inside, which they actually hold off and don't. So up into second, we're still sticking with first pretty closely, turning us in, all good there, and they're sticking on the back of me pretty well. Coming down the main flat sections, they get a much better run. I think they stuck in 5th for a bit longer. It didn't put it up into 6th like I did. Got a much better run through there, but let's see if we can bring this back. So sending it down the inside a little bit, little bump there, still fine with speed though, we're all good, and they're side by side. Are they going to slot in? No, I will slot in, let off the throttle a little bit, just come in behind and hopefully try to contest through the next couple of corners. So down into second, really swing it in as kind of as narrow as possible there. They have a bit of a wider line and I see a gap, and the gap opens because they're squirrely on the throttle. They turn right and they have a little bit of staff of oversteer and sending it around the outside here and pull off the switchback. So send it around the outside and then turn to the inside when they go to defend, and that move is pretty much done and sorted. Or so I think. Coming up to the last couple of corners of the same lap, or the next lap, I can't remember, they're looking for the attack again, because they're sticking right with me. And I've oversteered there, and they see that gap, they take it, and I think, oh god, they're home free. But without me even going anywhere near them, no netcode stuff either, they just put the throttle on too fast, got a bit too excited, and round they go. So now I'm home free to chase the final driver here. Unfortunately, because of the fighting that me and the other driver have had behind, it's going to be a bit of a challenge. I'm going to need a lucky break if they're making a big mistake, because honestly they're about 3 seconds ahead. I need them to spin out. So coming through here flat, I'm just trying to think, okay, how much time can I make up in these corners? Is it going to be possible? I don't know. They had a decent qualifying time, so they probably have some pace, but I'm about to be sent a holy grail here, or a saving grace, should I say. Come around the corner, we see a big plume of smoke, and that's because they've sent it round and round. They managed to keep it forward by the end of all that spinning, but I've had a massive incident there, it seems. I need to check the onboard from their perspective to see what happened there. I'm not quite sure. I'm assuming they just locked the rears and spun, or hit the side if they understeered. But now we're right on their tail. But they've been a bit faster than me all throughout the race, so it's going to be a bit difficult for me to get through and try and overtake them. But I no longer have any pressure from behind. I think the nearest car behind is a couple seconds at least, and I'm going to send it down the inside here. He turns in while I'm trying to turn around. We have a little bit of contact, but both of us are pretty much fine, and he's looking for that move once again. If I get this overtake stuck this lap, I've then got one lap to defend. So here we go, down the main straight, see if they have a better run, but they don't seem to be making any gap up at all. So I'm keeping that gap there. Down into third, a little bit slidey there, coming around the left-hander, but they've closed up that gap a little bit because they've had that corner a little bit more successfully than I have. But if I can defend into the long left-hander that comes up at the end of all this, then I should be pretty good set up to go through the more tight turns and the hairpins leading into the final straight. So, not too long to go now, but they are right on my heels. Let's see how we handle this. Tyres squealing there. Straighten up pretty quickly though and get the foot flat down on the throttle. And they are right behind those. You can see on the radar, really sticking with me here. But I've been a little bit stronger than them throughout these corners, which seems to be a trend throughout this video, is that I'm actually alright through here, which is surprising. So, in second, just enough throttle application to get us kind of powering through here, but without spinning the car and turning it around and oversteering. And there's a little bit more gap open to them. And as you can see, they had a bit of a snap of oversteer there. They're about to have another one here. So I'm pretty much home free now. It's game over for them unless I put it in the grass, but I don't. So I'm kind of shocked that that actually happened. You can see me there kind of nodding to myself because I wasn't even sure this was going to happen. I was pretty sure it wasn't going to happen. But across the line, we're here in first. So thank you all so much for watching. This has been a load of fun. I've really enjoyed it. 2 race wins as well, which has been great. And I also run the Lewis Hamilton livery for the first time on my actual racing suit. So that race suit and helmet I've never used before. I've been running the Leclerc Ferrari one before, but we've had Hamilton for this race, and it's brought me good luck and a race win. So hopefully it will for him in his next race. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.